Welcome to StartupJab.
I'm getting requests in the chat for the robot, which I cannot do. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 17 of StartupJab, the Thanksgiving edition. I am one of your two hosts.
Episode 17.
Episode 17. I am one of your hosts, Jason Ellis. With me, as always, the chocolate to my peanut butter, Teague Hopkins. Teague, how are you today?
Doing great.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear. With us today is a very special unannounced guest. We have with us today the one, the only Bradley Harrop, developer at Optoro, a startup here in DC. And disclaimer, my roommate. But
that happens.
If you want all the stories, he's got them. Brad, how are you, man?
Sure. I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. In the 2 hours since I saw you last.
Very true.
Indeed. We have lots of stuff that we're going to talk about today. We've got articles that we'll throw in there and, all the usual stuff that we cover in terms of current events about business and startups. But first I want to ask, gentlemen, what are your Thanksgiving plans? What do you got lined up for this wonderful holiday we're about to embark on?
Well, I've got a double Thanksgiving coming up. So we're doing Thanksgiving with my family on Thursday, and then Thanksgiving with my wife's family on Saturday.
Whoa.
We're packing it full of turkey.
That sounds positively fulfilling. Brad, how about you, man? What are your plans?
Mostly nothing except for work because I'm in the e-commerce business, so I will be working all weekend. Yay!
Oh, yes. Well, for those of us that have not heard of Optoro before, you want to give us a quick rundown on what it is and what you do for it?
Sure. I'm a dev lead at Optoro. Optoro is a software company that specializes in reinvigorating return and excess inventory for large retailers. So we work with big box retailers on taking their returned inventory and putting it online. So we sell it on